Hi, welcome to Gladiators. If it's written... Can we do that again?
Platform.
Alright. Hi, welcome to Gladiators, where we discuss literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Brian.
I'm Kaila.
And I'm Nick.
And I'm Dan. And Nick, I think this is your first time on here?
Yes, this is my first time.
Yeah, this is me the first time being in the director's chair because Josh is absent. Alright, so today we're talking about Flashpoint.
Brian, I think you're
I didn't come up with a question for this.
No, it's my favorite comic, graphic novel of old. I'm a big Flash fan, so to get the conversation started, I guess I just want to know how you guys liked it, what you thought about it, and throughout reading it, what stuck in my mind is the question: what would you do for family, and would you make the ultimate sacrifice that Barry made at the end of the novel? Ultimately deciding that his mother had to die for the greater good. So what would you do for the greater good and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm not a big DC guy, but I did find this very interesting. Like, I don't really read much DC comics, but I do read a few Batman stuff. Like I say, the Flashpoint really took me by surprise because I didn't expect it to be that good. Geoff Johns, I think, who was like the writer or something like that,
Yeah.
did a really good job with this. And I've read a lot of his work, like Blackest Night and stuff like that, and I
Right.
feel he does a really good job with this stuff.
It was an excellent story.
Yeah, didn't he also do like a plot like this in the Flash TV show?
Yeah.
It was somewhat similar.
Yeah, I just noticed the similarities because I've seen that more than I
Right.
read the
There
book.
were some similarities, but ultimately, due to character rights and stuff, they couldn't include
Bring
things.
Batman in, or
Right,
Superman.
Batman, or the war between Aquaman and Wonder
Yeah,
Woman.
and then the whole thing of like Wonder Woman taking over, like the new Themyscira, and the thing is
Right.
like all that stuff. Like that would have to be a big budget movie or something, or probably an animated feature.
Right.
Yeah, I was never big into like the superheroes and stuff. Like
Right.
my favorite's Spider-Man, so I started reading Spider-Man, but like this got me interested again.
Right.
Like, I stopped reading for a while, but this got me back interested.
That's good.
Going back to your question, what you would do with your family? That's a really hard decision because Barry went back to go save his mom,
Right.
but by doing so, he ended up changing a lot of things,
Right.
for other people. Like, for example, Batman is not Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne was originally killed, and now it's Thomas Wayne as a more violent Batman. And his mother became insane and became like the Joker in that universe.
Right.
Mhm.
So like, you see how his sacrifice to want to save his mom turned the world for a worse way. And the thing is realizing that because he wanted his mom back, he had to let her die in order to save the world.
Right.
I don't know that I would be able to make that call. I don't think I would have put myself in a position in the first place where I had to make such a call. But I think that Barry realizes in the end that it's the only way, that it doesn't just boil down to his future, it boils down to everybody's future. And when you're faced with a decision like that, I think you kind of have to suck it up and face the pain of losing somebody close to you in order to save the rest of the world, in this case.
He did get his mom goodbye though.
Yeah.
And it also brings up a good talking point about like time travel. Like, would it even be that extreme to change such what you would think to be an insignificant event as just saving one person? But I mean, time travel, isn't real as we know it. But
Well, the time travel in comics is like always like you change one little thing, it's super crazy.
super
or
extreme.
sometimes they do a thing where like I've read some comics where like the time travel is like you can't change it no matter what.
Right.
You
Right.
try and change it, you become the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Right. Time travel is a whole nother issue that.
Yeah,
It's debatable.
the theories of time travel, if they're done right and you follow one of the theories, you can pretty much make a good thing out of it. If you try and do a bunch of them, things you're gonna screw up.
Yeah.
I think like the whole point too is that you don't know how one decision is going to impact everybody else. Like this happens because Barry didn't become the Flash essentially, and that like we just don't you can't predict how what you don't become is going to change the outcome of other things.
Yeah.
You know,
Right, because he doesn't have his powers. And,
he doesn't join the Justice League. And,
right.
Yeah, you don't know what.
I don't think the Justice League ever
changes
existed
with
in this.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
You have to take the risk of potentially killing yourself just to get your powers back. That you don't even know if that's going to work. But
Oh yeah, the thing is, he kind of like, but when he tries to do it again, he actually burns himself instead.
right.
One thing I really want to mention is the thing is, I love the Batman here. I know the thing is, like, I'm used to the Batman that doesn't kill anyone,
Mm-hmm.
but something about this violent Thomas Wayne Batman was actually very interesting to me, and I just don't know. I kind of like it.
I like the costume. The costume. was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah.
With the red eyes and
Eyes,
stuff.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
I find that personally, the characters you see in this are much more compelling than they usually would be. I feel like their backstories are a little bit more rich, and like I found myself wanting to know more about why this world came to be when Barry's mom didn't die.
And honestly, like I didn't even know that Aquaman and Wonder Woman were fighting. Like I didn't know all that.
Yeah.
that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a history to this world that we
Yeah.
are not used to.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know all that was happening there. You don't show that part.
Yeah.
And they do battle against Wonder Woman, like in New Themyscira, where like all that stuff happens.
Yeah.
But I found that was really interesting because the thing is, like, you go into this world, and the thing is, it already takes place, like, you're jumping in the middle.
Right.
You know, where the thing is, in the regular DC universe, we already know, like, the story of how these characters came to be. But here,
Right.
there's a whole new history
Yeah,
that we don't know of.
Pretty much just jump in where Barry wakes up at his desk one day and he sees that this,
World has changed.
war to end all
Yeah.
wars is happening, and he goes to run and he like
Runs
He
too
runs
many
into
doesn't
days.
have his, he runs at normal human speed, but then like he sees his mother and he's just overwhelmed with his emotions and his feelings and stuff like that.
I also like, at the very end, where, like, the thing is, they take the three outcomes of different universes and combine them all together,
Mhm.
completely restarting the DC universe together.
Right.
Which I think that's what Rebirth came from, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know the events of this also affect the new series that's out now, which is Doomsday Clock, I believe, where they introduce the Watchmen and
Yeah,
the whole
into the
mystery
actual
surrounding
DC
it.
continuously, which
Yeah.
I thought was pretty interesting, but that's a whole nother story.
Right, right.
Yeah, don't get into that.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about Superman being a government experiment and not being exposed to the sun? And
That was pretty interesting.
yeah,
That sparked my interest. I was like, what?
I think that was my favorite part, was seeing like scrawny little Superman
Yeah.
come out with all these powers at the end.
Yeah.
yeah, because they save him and then
And then he just vanishes and then comes back when he's needed. He's just
Yeah.
like, oh, here I am.
Mhm.
yeah, because
It
when
kinda
they
shows that,
re-
like, his power source is truly the sun, and if he doesn't get it, could it make him weak? It definitely does make him
yeah,
weak.
it
Or
did.
is he getting it from his planet being there? Like, instead of getting us absorbing the sun, they're beaming him his powers.
Mhm.
That'd be pretty cool.
Well,
Yeah.
isn't Krypton still destroyed in that world? They never really
I don't
explained it.
remember. I don't remember.
Honestly, the thing is, he comes from a planet with a yellow sun. We have a yellow sun.
Right.
Kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. But they also ran the risk when they let him loose that he was
He wouldn't be a good
unstable.
guy,
Yeah. Letting him loose didn't guarantee that he was going to be a good guy.
Yeah.
But,
That's the thing about this world. Is saying you don't know who's going to be a good guy, who could be a bad guy, because it's kind of portrayed that Aquaman and Wonder Woman are not there to save people. They're just there for themselves.
right, they're
Right,
out for.
Yeah.
They got so much hate, and they're just focused on fighting. They're not focused on.
Yeah, like I
anything else.
think like which meets actually Steve. What was his name? Trevor.
Mhm.
Which in the original Wonder Woman, he landed on her island, and that's how she became a hero in the regular world.
Mhm.
Right.
But here, he's being held as a captive, and he's fighting against Wonder Woman,
Right.
which I thought was a really nice twist because it truly
Yeah.
shows that the Wonder Woman in this world isn't exactly a hero; she's more of an enemy to people.
Right.
Yeah. And I think too, isn't that, I don't really know because I'm not like a huge comic book person, but that group of like the Resistance with the Grifter, aren't they originally like in regular timeline, aren't they bad guys?
Some of them, I'd have to go.
Which is interesting too because in
Yeah.
this they're like the Resistance, so they're,
Yeah.
kind of the good guys.
Some of the villains that were good guys in this one,
Mhm.
but most of them are just most of them are just the normal Justice League. But yeah, I think when you mentioned like what was his name, Drifter?
I think so. Yeah.
Grifter, yeah.
Yeah, he was a bad guy originally.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cool to see that he's a good guy.
Right, because again, how one action can affect other people.
Yeah. Can make a hero a villain, can make a villain a hero.
Right.
I think it's all about survival too.
Yeah, it depends on where they're at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, any final thoughts?
I think for me, I love the story. It's short, it's sweet, it's got a lot to it, and also the ending is pretty powerful to me. Where Thomas Wayne gives Flash the note to give to his son.
I was
Yeah,
super
yeah.
upset. Like when that ended, I was just
Yeah.
like, I almost
Yeah.
threw my phone across
Yeah.
across my classroom. I was just, I'm like, nope.
But it's such a bittersweet ending,
Oh,
too,
yeah.
you know?
But I didn't want it to end, honestly.
I know.
Yeah,
it was
it
really
was-
good.
it's
It
just such a
definitely-
good story.
It definitely
in my
grabbed
Yeah.
me.
I
Like,
felt
if
like
this
they
was
could've
an
fit a
actual,
lot more
like
in.
if this was a longer series, it probably would have been like one that I would buy every single issue of.
I
Right,
agree.
I
I
agree.
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad that the thing is that the events of this are not erased entirely in the DC
Right.
universe.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, all 15 events before it are, but the thing is, the events after it take place because of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
So the fact that it's part of the continuity, I still like.
Yeah, I really like this. This was, I think it was the first DC comic I've read, and it was really interesting. I don't know how many more I'll read, but I'm definitely interested. I'm definitely interested in the Doomsday one, so I'll probably read that one with some.
Doomsday's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely an easy read.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, so what's your ratings on this book? I would say it's probably a 4.5 for me.
I would say a strong 4.
I'd say a 4.
Well, I'm very biased because I love the Flash. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. Story was great. Characters were great. Artwork was great. So.
All right, so that does it for Larry Gladiators. Until next time, keep reading.
Those who lived, worked, or went to school in the Sandy and Tartan area are welcome to attend. Attendees will have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with housing counselors, leasing agents, landlords,
Signing off again.
Huh?
Sign off again.
Oh. All right, so that does it here for Larry Gladiators. Until next time, keep reading.